They said Earth would stand forever, but forever ended in fire. No one remembers who launched the first strike. The war began like a whisper and ended like an apocalypse. The skies burned with artificial suns. Cities vanished beneath waves of plasma storms. The oceans boiled, the continents cracked, and the last blue world turned to a smoldering ember in the void. From the ashes rose humanity's final exodus, the last fleet of Earth. Thousands of ships drifting together like wounded stars, carrying what remained of our species, soldiers, scientists, children, all bound by the same unspoken truth, that home was gone, and survival would come at a cost no one yet understood. Behind them, the ghosts of 8 billion souls. Ahead, the infinite dark. They thought they were escaping extinction. They were wrong. The fleet drifted into the emptiness, a river of steel and light flowing through the cold, silent darkness of space. Every star seemed distant, indifferent, like the universe itself had abandoned them. Inside the ships, humanity clung to memories, to whispers of what once was, while engines hummed a lonely song of survival. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Ark Leviathan, eyes scanning the black horizon, knowing that every light in the distance could be friend or enemy. Communications were sparse. The fleet moved in silence, bound by the same unspoken rule: never stop, never look back. Yet beneath the hum of life support systems and the glow of navigation panels, something stirred, a shadow unseen but felt. An alien presence had followed them, tracing the wake of humanity's final escape. What they carried within themselves, a fragment of consciousness older than war, was not yet understood. Something ancient, powerful, and terrifying, and whatever waited out there would not let it go quietly. In the void, survival was a fragile illusion, and hope was a weapon with a blade sharper than any enemy. The silence shattered. First, a flicker on the long-range sensors, a shadow moving against the stars. Then another, and another. The fleet's scanners struggled to comprehend the shapes. Massive, angular vessels unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Panic whispered through the corridors of the Leviathan. Crews exchanged uncertain glances, hands tightening on control panels, hearts pounding in unison with the fleet's engines. Captain Ilara Voss knew instinctively they were being hunted. Not by chance, but by design. The alien force moved with precision, calculating every maneuver, every retreat, as if anticipating their thoughts before they even formed. There was no communication, no warning, only the cold inevitability of predators that had stalked their kind across the void. And yet, deeper in the ships, in hidden chambers and encrypted databanks, a fragment of humanity's secret lingered, a consciousness collective, a seed of knowledge and memory that these hunters craved. The fleet, once a river of hope, now sailed a narrowing gauntlet of death. Every moment of hesitation could cost billions of lives. Humanity's final voyage had become a chase, and in this chase, no one was guaranteed to survive. Deep within the heart of the fleet, behind reinforced bulkheads and encrypted systems, a secret pulsed like a hidden star. It was humanity's last gift and their heaviest burden, a fragment of collective consciousness, a digital echo of every mind ever born on Earth. Stored in a lattice of quantum cores, scientists whispered of its power. Soldiers feared its potential. Leaders debated the ethics of wielding a force that could reshape the galaxy or doom it entirely. Captain Ilara walked the corridors, sensing the weight of history pressing down on every soul aboard. Every glance, every murmured conversation seemed laced with tension. They were guardians of something the universe itself desired. Outside, the hunters advanced relentlessly, undeterred by shields or evasive maneuvers. Each pass of the alien vessels sent waves of dread across the fleet. They were not chasing ships. They were chasing something inside those ships, something far more dangerous than mere humans. And as the Leviathan's engines hummed, a thought formed among the crew. Survival might not depend on speed, firepower, or strategy. It might depend on what they chose to reveal or conceal. The galaxy had eyes. and those eyes were now fixed on humanity's last hope. The void erupted with light. Alien vessels emerged from the darkness, their forms towering and unrecognizable, engines thrumming with a rhythm that felt almost alive. The fleet held its breath. Every gun turret, every shield matrix, every sensor was on alert. Then a signal. Not a weapon, not a warning, a single pulse of energy resonating through the fleet's communications channels. The message was not in words, but in meaning, an understanding that reached directly into the mind. We know what you carry. Surrender it, or be destroyed. Panic rippled through the Leviathan's corridors. Crew members froze, staring at panels that couldn't fully explain the threat. Captain Alara felt the weight of the entire human race pressing down on her shoulders. Every decision, every hesitation, could be the last. Outside, the alien hunters moved with deadly precision, encircling the fleet, testing its formations, probing for weaknesses. The chase had evolved into confrontation, and yet, within the hearts of those who survived Earth's destruction, a spark endured. A spark that refused to bow, that whispered of hope, strategy, and the possibility that humanity could fight back, not just for survival, but for the very essence of what made them human. Weeks had passed since the first pulse. The fleet, once united by purpose, now felt the strain of endless vigilance. Tensions flared in corridors, whispered arguments erupted over ration supplies, and trust, the fragile glue of survival, began to fracture. Captain Ilara Voss moved through the chaos, knowing leadership was more than giving orders. It was about keeping humanity intact, not just physically but morally. Every choice weighed heavier under the scrutiny of those who remembered Earth's fall. Meanwhile, the alien hunters circled like predators that sensed weakness. They struck without warning, probing shields, testing formations, forcing the fleet to adapt at every moment. And beneath it all, the secret of the collective consciousness remained, its presence both a beacon and a burden. Whispers among the crew hinted at fear. Could humanity wield such power without destroying itself? Or worse, would the hunters seize it first? In the vast emptiness, the greatest danger was no longer just the aliens outside. It was the fear, doubt, and desperation growing within. Survival demanded more than courage. It demanded unity, cunning, and a resolve stronger than the void itself. The silence of space shattered as the alien hunters unleashed their assault. Beams of energy lanced through the void, igniting shields and tearing through hulls. Explosions rippled across the fleet, a symphony of fire and metal. Captain Ilara barked orders, her voice steady despite the chaos. Every maneuver, every salvo was a gamble against an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. Crews worked in fevered synchronization, gunner to pilot, engineer to bridge officer, their survival depending on unity and precision. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and yet, amidst the fury, humanity endured. But the fleet soon realized that raw firepower alone was not enough. The hunters were not just attacking ships. They were probing, searching for the fragment within the fleet, the collective consciousness that carried the essence of humanity itself. In the heat of the battle, a chilling truth became clear. This was more than war. It was a hunt for the soul of a species, and every strike, every evasive maneuver, brought them closer to a revelation that could change the fate of humanity forever. Amidst the chaos of battle, whispers began in the fleet's hidden chambers. Scientists and engineers, exhausted but determined, had discovered a way to channel the fragment, the collective consciousness, into the fleet's systems. Shields shimmered with renewed intensity, engines responded with unnatural agility, and sensors seemed to anticipate alien movements before they happened. It was as if the very mind of humanity had become a weapon. Captain Ilara walked the bridge, watching her crew adapt to this newfound edge. Every maneuver now carried the weight of centuries of human memory, intuition, and experience, distilled into a single, unstoppable force. Outside, the alien hunters recoiled, their formations faltering against the subtle but devastating advantage. The tide of the battle began to shift, not with firepower alone, but with strategy born of shared consciousness, a unity that transcended individual skill. Yet even as hope flared, a nagging fear lingered. What price would humanity pay for wielding such power? And what would happen if the hunters ever learned the full extent of the treasure they sought? The war was far from over, but for the first time since leaving Earth, the fleet felt that survival was within reach, if they could endure the storm of both war and morality. The fleet surged forward, no longer fleeing but striking with precision. Alien vessels faltered under coordinated maneuvers, shields collapsing where the collective consciousness guided the pilot's instincts. Captain Ilara felt a surge of resolve. Every decision, every command, now carried the weight of countless human memories, victories, losses, hopes, and fears, converging into clarity. The hunters responded with ferocity, reshaping formations, targeting weak points, and forcing the fleet into desperate gambits. But humanity's ingenuity, amplified by the fragment, was unstoppable. Explosions lit the void like dying stars. Engines roared with newfound vigor, and for the first time in decades, the survivors of Earth felt the exhilaration of turning the tide of war. Yet even as victory seemed within reach, Captain Ilara knew the war's true test had only just begun. The hunters were relentless, and the secret they sought, the soul of humanity itself, was not yet safe. In the cold, infinite void, survival had a new meaning. It was no longer about running, but about defending what it meant to be human, against forces that sought to claim it. The hunters' final assault was met with unyielding resistance. The fleet, guided by the fragment of humanity's collective consciousness, moved as one, a living testament to resilience, unity, and defiance. Captain Ilara watched as the enemy faltered, their precision undone by the very minds they sought to capture. Ships that had once trembled under fear now surged with purpose, every crew member connected by the invisible threads of memory, hope, and determination. At last, the alien pursuit faltered. The void, once a gauntlet of despair, now echoed with the hum of survival. Humanity had endured, not by might alone, but through courage, ingenuity, and the enduring spirit of a species that refused to vanish. And though the journey ahead remained uncertain, one truth burned brighter than any star. As long as they carried the essence of Earth, humanity would never truly be lost. If you enjoyed this epic voyage through the stars, make sure to subscribe and join the fleet. There are countless stories waiting beyond the void, and the adventure has only just begun.